I sure hope the equipment manager packed some of those "Hello, my name is" tags for the Cavaliers' current road trip. Yesterday, Cleveland shipped out 6 players in 3 trades involving 4 teams. It was one of the most aggressive deadline makeovers of the past 30 years. And afterward, Kobe Altman gave one of the best general manager quotes of the last 30 years. He said the shakeup was needed because, quote, "We were really worried that what was going on out on the floor and our culture in the building, that we were marching a slow death, and that we didn't want to be part of that." Look, that's the crux of what I've been saying on this show for weeks. For some teams, the ceiling's so low anyway that once you realize you're on the death march, you can use the trade deadline to cut bait, plan for the future. But the Cavaliers have LeBron James on their roster, and so their ceiling for this season right now, perhaps as high as it ever will be again for that franchise. It would have been foolish for the Cavs to use the deadline to only plan for next year or be too obsessed with LeBron's free agency. So I was happy to see instead that while they were hardly reckless with their future, they clearly tried to take square aim at their present. I'm also going to give the front office and owner Dan Gilbert credit for not being too proud to admit a lot of the roster changes they made over the summer had flat out failed. Too often in this league, we see teams stick with a bad plan just because they don't want to admit they were wrong. Oh, and speaking of, here was another winner quote from Altman last night. "We want fountains, not drains." Ouch. You can connect the dots for yourself on who you think the drains in the locker room are, but clearly he feels like the air in there will now be more clear. Of course, beyond that, we still don't know much. Depending on who you talk to, the Cavs got either more athletic, better shooters, more size, or players who are either too inexperienced, injury-prone, or shaky defensively. And they don't have a lot of time to find out which side it is. Just 29 regular season games to mesh all those new pieces together. At shoot-around this morning, LeBron acknowledged how short a time span they have, but he seemed willing to give it a try.
I mean, it is what it is. So let's get it going. It is what it is. The front office made, changes that they felt that best fit this franchise, and it's time to go to work. So it is what it is. It's not like, do we have enough time? This is the time that we have, so let's make the most of it.
Listening to LeBron, it is hard not to think that really that might be the best trade Cleveland made yesterday. If this roster shakeup is what it takes to get him engaged again, to get him to try on defense, to take full advantage of his still considerable powers, then Cleveland may have just made the best deal of anyone. And hey, LeBron doesn't even need a name tag. Tracy, what do you think is the ceiling now for this new Cavs roster? We've been talking for the last month. Is it the conference finals? Is it the finals? Is it a title? Where do you think it is?
Well, I think it's the finals. I think this is a major upgrade for the talent that they got rid of. I look at the pieces that they added to this team. Clarkson, to me, is a Lou Williams coming off the bench. He's a Ginobili. He's a Jamal Crawford. I mean, a guy that could just play his role well coming off being a great 6th man. They were lacking energy in the front court, what Tristan Thompson provided. Larry Nance is going to get that opportunity because Kevin Love is out due to injury. Rodney Hood, who is a great player, I think, in the making, being able to slash, being able to knock down shots, just a great defender. So I think they have the pieces, if they can mesh with these 29 games, to get to the finals.
Ewan?
Let's see, slow death march. If they improve from slow death march, they would have to increase their chances. If they're on a fast death march, better than a slow death march.
That's true.
Believe it or not, LeBron actually has experience doing this type of meshing before, because 10 years ago, God, I'm getting old. 10 years ago, at the trade deadline, the Cavs made a 10-player deal, sent out 6 guys, brought in 4 guys, Wally Szczerbiak, Delonte West, Joe Smith, and Ben Wallace. That team actually ended up being okay. They ended up going out in 7 in the second round of the Celtics. So LeBron's actually been here before, and I actually think their situation, as Kobe spelled out, was so negative that anything is going to get them positive. So ceiling, whatever you want to call it, they did get better even just by switching out the chemistry.
Remember when somebody in that locker room, I think, told Dave McMenamin after the Orlando loss, after the 39-point swing, this is rock bottom? It was rock bottom. They were probably already convinced anyway, but if they weren't, that game convinced them. It wasn't a slow death march. They were dead. I mean, it's a matter of opening up the casket at that point. They weren't going to do anything.
Right.
Now, we know they're better for all the reasons that Tracy outlined, but we don't know how much better. Right. Are they good enough? And the finals is the ceiling for this team. But here's what yesterday I wanted to do, and I talked to a couple of head coaches and assistant coaches as well about what their schedule looks like after the All-Star break. This is a different after-break period. It's not condensed in terms of games, well, it is, but it's condensed. There are not that many back-to-backs because players, right, the Union Tracy wanted to get rid of the back-to-back, so they did. But that means you got games a lot of every other day. And I had coaches tell me, look, after we play guys 30-some minutes, they're not going to practice the next
practice
day.
time.
Right? So you're talking 3-on-3. You're not talking 5-on-5. You're talking no scrimmages. We hear coaches all the time, and I take them at their word when they say we need a training camp, we need X number of days. What do you need normally? You think, what, about 40 games, Tracy, before you can jump on the season? I think I've heard you say.
Yes.
They don't have that. And so this, I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying this is going to be really difficult, this condensed number of games and no practices almost. I had one coach tell me they can't have more than 2 or 3 practices
also,
altogether.
don't forget that Kevin Love is going to come back in the middle of this in late March, early April, too. That will take another integration.
I tell you what will help these guys out is that the players that they acquired, they don't need the ball. And I think that's what will help their chemistry. These guys can just come in and fit in, spot up on the perimeter, get the ball, and make some happen when need be. But they don't need to dominate the ball to make things happen.
Does this mean LeBron goes back into a role we used to see him in where he's got the ball? And I know he doesn't want to do that long term anymore, have the ball all the time and has to do that. Physically, it's demanding. But he's going to have to do that now,
yes,
Tracy?
He's going to have to do that. I mean, he doesn't have a Kyrie Irving who he could defer to on the offensive end.
Isn't that the strength of George Hill, though, if you're trying to fit this roster, that he is such a good off-ball point guard? Because you don't want an Isaiah Thomas.
It wasn't like they had a choice of 50 players to choose from.
Right.
But Jordan Clarkson is a type of player that LeBron's succeeded with all his career. Mario Chalmers is kind of like him. Not as better on defense. Mo Williams, kind of like Jordan Clarkson. And then you have spot-up shooters in Rodney Hood and George Hill. George Hill's been awesome at spot-up shooting this year. So actually, on paper, I can kind of see how it would fit. And I think Larry Nance is going to be a fan favorite in Cleveland.
Oh, man, come
Run
on.
the floor,
His dad
dunk.
A lot of excitement, a lot of
His dad's name is on the rafters.
Is in the arena there. And he went to high school around there. Akron born, the whole thing, no question.
We begin today with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who play Atlanta tonight, but without all the new players they acquired yesterday. After tonight, the Cavs will have 28 games to fully integrate a brand new squad. LeBron James said, quote, "It is what it is. The front office made changes that they felt best fit the franchise, and it's time to go to work. It's not like that we have enough time. This is the time that we have, so let's make the most of it," unquote. Wilbon, is it enough time for the Cavaliers to be great?
Well, Tony, LeBron is taking the proper tack. No, he can't be asking, is it enough time? He's got to do this. The rest of us get to ask and examine whether it's enough time. And enough time for what? Enough time for that team to get to be really good or pretty good and get to the conference finals? Maybe. Enough time to get to the finals? I don't really think so. Enough time to win? No. And Tony, I spent yesterday in part talking to coaches, NBA coaches, including head coaches, about what it's like when they come back after All-Star break. Do they get to practice? And in most cases, the answer is no. They might get some 3-on-3s. They're not going to get 5-on-5. They're not going to get scrimmages with the games every other day. They're not going to play the guys who played 38 minutes the night before like LeBron. So it's difficult. There's no training camp. There's a mini camp after the All-Star break. But I just don't think there's enough time to make it a great team. I don't.
Well, that's your opinion. And
Yeah,
my opinion is different. And I have thought about this for 24 hours. And I don't think that Cleveland did good. I think Cleveland did great. I think Cleveland went A+. Cleveland cleared out old, slow players who could not score at all and stood around watching LeBron. They brought in young athletic players, most of whom had played on, I think all of them played on losing teams. Now they have a chance to be in the playoffs. I think they had all played with superstars, so they know how to accommodate themselves to someone else. Yesterday, my only question was not LeBron's ability. It was LeBron's interest. I believe LeBron was energized by this. I believe he was consulted on every little bit of this. I believe he went completely forward with it. I think he's all in, and I think they will get to the NBA Finals, Mike, so you and I differ. I think that's where they're going.
I'm not questioning whether he's all in. I'm not questioning whether they're energized. I'm not questioning whether they did A+, because they did. But to then take what's on paper, and put a team together, that's hard.
I think they will.
And that's not going to be a matter of opinion in a few days. That's going to be a matter of let's see.
Young players, athletic players.
And by the way,
LeBron can get out and
played
run.
with a superstar. What superstar did Rodney Hood play with? You said these guys all
not
have played with a
star.
superstar.
He played with Gordon Hayward, not a star. But the Lakers played with Kobe Bryant, a star.
Yeah,
they can accommodate themselves to LeBron, a star.
All right. Ooh. I know. Yeah.